Zara Green and Tom Lloyd were about to embark on a challenging journey with their newborn daughter, who was born with a bright red mark on her nose, resembling a clown's nose. Can you imagine what these parents had to endure? To understand their story, let's go back a few months before the birth of their baby girl, Connie. When Zara and Tom went for a routine ultrasound at 26 weeks, doctors assured them that everything was progressing well. They were expecting a baby girl and all appeared normal, except for a small shadow on the baby's nose. While the doctors couldn't determine the source of the shadow, they weren't concerned. Like any expectant parents, Zara and Tom were curious about the shadow on the ultrasound, but they quickly turned their attention to preparing for their baby's arrival. The months flew by, and finally, in September 2008, their beautiful baby girl, Connie, was born. At first, Connie appeared perfectly healthy, and Zara and Tom took her home to Slough, Berkshire in England. However, just 2 days after her birth, Zara noticed a raised red mark on Connie's nose. The mark grew day by day, and within a month, it had reached about 1.5 inches in diameter. Local doctors speculated about what it could be, but couldn't provide a satisfactory diagnosis or any treatment. The red mark was round, raised, and positioned right at the tip of Connie's nose, making it look just like a clown's nose. The young parents, both just 24 years old, were deeply concerned and didn't know where to turn. With no family history of such a condition, they felt lost. Doctors tried to reassure them, saying the mark would likely disappear on its own. When their general practitioner couldn't diagnose the issue, they were referred to a specialist at Great Ormond Street Hospital. After careful examination, the condition was identified as hemangioma, a benign, non-cancerous birthmark that typically appears at birth or within the first few weeks of life. Hemangiomas are composed of blood vessels, which meant Connie's nose was particularly vulnerable to injury. Doctors warned her parents that even a small scratch or bruise could lead to severe bleeding. Connie's parents faced a dilemma. While she was a baby, protecting her from injury was somewhat manageable, but how would they keep her safe once she started walking and playing? Falls are a normal part of childhood, and the thought of her playing at the park or kicking a ball was terrifying for Zara and Tom. Although there was no cure, doctors suggested a drug called propranolol, typically used for heart conditions, which had shown promise in preventing hemangiomas from growing. At that time, the drug had only been used in 8 other infants in the UK to treat various medical conditions. It is always heartwarming when there is medical treatment available to help your child, but it is also sometimes hard to deal with a diagnosis that tells you there is no cure and that you and your child have to learn to live with the condition. Taking Connie out in public was heartbreaking for Zara and Tom. Strangers would approach to admire the baby, but upon seeing the red nose, some would stare, whisper, or even laugh, calling her a clown without makeup. Others simply looked away or made insensitive comments. Although Zara and Tom loved their daughter and thought she was perfect, it hurt them deeply whenever people reacted insensitively. After all, the parents did nothing wrong for the girl to be born with this swollen red nose while she was still a baby. The parents could easily shield little Connie from the world. In time, they began avoiding public places, choosing secluded areas for walks to protect Connie from judgmental stares and comments. Despite doctors telling her there was no cure, Zara never lost hope. She continued searching for a solution, determined to find a way to help her daughter. Maybe a new cure has been developed or research has revealed additional solutions. The mother vowed to continue to look for help until she found something or someone who could deal with the clown nose her beautiful daughter was born with. As Connie grew older, she started to understand she knew that there was something different with her. Her parents wanted her to have a normal life and not hide her away from people. They knew they had to integrate her into social life and make her strong before she had to go to school. You can imagine how difficult it is to take Connie to play in groups, as the children would immediately start to laugh when they saw her nose because of her outer appearance. Connie was a shy little girl. Although she loved to play, she often became unsociable and would rather avoid other children than be ridiculed or laughed at secluded places, and playing alone was easier to deal with. When other children would make insensitive remarks, she would turn her face away and hide her nose. For nearly 3 years, she reached out to doctors willing to attempt to remove the tumor. As a parent, she knew that often in life, the scars that develop on the inside because of the hurtful words spoken by people can be more challenging to deal with. She was almost about to give up. Finally, after almost 3 years, Zara found a surgeon, Dr. Ian Hutchinson, who specialized in facial disfigurements, who was willing to examine Connie and consider the possibility of surgery. Given the nature of Connie's condition, the surgery was complex and risky. The hemangioma was made up of blood vessels, making any operation challenging. The surgery took place in March of 2011. For Zara, this was easily the longest 3.5 hours of her life, waiting there helplessly, not knowing what to expect. You hope for the best, but deep in the back of your mind, you prepare for disappointment. You go through various what-if questions just to cling to hope again. The agonizing wait continued until the doctors finally emerged to share the outcome of the operation. One of little Connie's biggest wishes had been to have a nose like her mother's, but neither Dr. Hutchinson nor Zara and Tom knew if that would be possible. The doctor informed them that the operation was a success, though the wound would need to be covered for a few days, and the swelling would have to subside before they could see how her nose looked. Would Connie's dream of having a nose just like her mother's finally come true? When Zara finally saw her daughter's nose after the operation, she could barely contain her emotions. It was as if she was looking at a different child. The removal of the tumor had transformed Connie's appearance. Even today, it feels like a dream come true. Connie now has a nose that closely resembles her mother's. The large, red, round bulge on Connie's nose has now been replaced by a tiny scar. Zara, Tom, and Connie are forever grateful to Dr. Hutchinson for his remarkable work in restoring their little girl's face to what most would consider typical. Facing the insensitive remarks and stares of others was never easy, but today, Connie has many friends and is thriving. Her parents have always been proud of her, even when she had her distinctive nose, but they are relieved and thankful that she can now blend into a crowd without standing out. I'm really keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.